The word for practice firm in Sweden is övningsföretag.
SIMO, virksomhed.
Übungsfirmen.
Simulatiebedrijf.
Empresa simulada.
Een harjoitusyritys.
Entreprise d'entraînement.
I mean, this concept is not very familiar in Sweden, so many people are very surprised. Does this world really exist?
When we are talking about practice firm, we can say they were born in 1950, 1954.
For us, a practice firm is a place we use to train people.
The first thing you have to do is explain what a practice firm is. And a practice firm, in effect, is a company.
Practice firms work in all kinds of branches. There are practice firms that work, with computers, that sell computers. Other practice firms, sell trips to the Caribbean, or they sell pencils or shoes. So you can find any good that you find in real life, you also find in a practice firm. The only big difference is that the products only exist on paper. But all the things that you do when you trade, all those, actions also take place in a practice firm. Not all countries have the same target groups. Some countries specialize on young people in business colleges, others specialize on unemployed, and others have a mixture of all target groups. And we have seen in the past that, the practicing concept is such a flexible concept that you can use it anywhere.
More and more practice firms were set up in Germany as a consequence of the high unemployment rate in the 70s, and the necessity arose to establish a central office.
A central office is part of the Europen network, and its function is to run and support its national network of virtual enterprises practice firms. The central office acts as the clearinghouse, insofar as it acts as the inland revenue for collecting taxes, for the personal taxes. It's the insurance company, the assurance company. It also helps by training the trainers. It supports and develops the systems and procedures that they will use by developing a website, training manuals, ensuring that all the relevant latest systems and procedures a business should use.
Because the central office offers you all these services that you cannot simulate at the practice firm. It's logical that when you are working in a practice firm, you use and you learn several administration tasks. But there are things such as banks, import-export procedures, for example, insurance companies, that you cannot simulate at the practice firm. I mean, you could do that, but it wouldn't make much sense for a student, to have the insurance company or the bank company next to his or her desk, It was very nice to be working in a practice firm, simulating that we were working in a real company and all those important matters, but we wanted to provide an international framework for all that.
That we need something, kind of like a structure to organize these practice firms in these different countries. So we set up a project called Europen, and in the former times it stood for European Practice Enterprises Network.
Well, we keep the name because a lot of people were already member, but it has become a worldwide organization.
One moment, please. I will put you through with purchasing.
How can you benefit from joining Europen? This is a question that we get asked pretty often. from new countries. The first biggest advantage is you have a network of practice firms. You have a network of 3,600 practice firms worldwide. And those practice firms exist in 36 countries worldwide. This is a network that functions. We have a database with all the practice firms, with all the coordinates of the practice firms, so each practice firm really receives the tool to be able to trade with other practice firms.
Do you want me to send you a new transport commission, or will you arrange it yourself?
Monsieur Petrovski, j'ai trouvé la commande.
So we kind of see that we supply the framework, for all these national central offices. Practice and trade fairs are rather important because when you have people working in a practice firm, of course they trade with other practice firms worldwide, but the experience of going to a practice fair, that's something special because you get to meet your business partners in flesh, you can negotiate in flesh, and this is really a challenge. We are talking about tough business here and tough competition. They don't see that as a game. They see it, as really as an opportunity to make money. So we think that the practice and trade fairs are very important. They are very important for the participants because they also get to meet people from other countries. Basically, all people are the same. They have different habits, but you don't know that until you meet them.
It's very intensive at a trade fair, and you really have to do things, and time is very short.
I've met some German students. I mean, their English wasn't very good. My German was terrible. And we managed, and I really enjoyed myself with them. Very nice people.
Nowadays, when you look at people who work in companies, they have to have very good qualifications. When you go to university or to a school, you have the theoretical knowledge, but you really lack the practice. And how to get the practice? You go to a company, you start working, they expect you to know everything.
We can move them around the various departments and train them in each of the departmental functions and find out what is that person's skills and techniques, and take them and prepare them in not only knowing all the departmental procedures of every department, but being highly skilled in their chosen field. No employer would do that.
Wir haben ein Konto geöffnet.
Theoretical knowledge is fine, but if you cannot apply theoretical knowledge, you're nowhere.
Some of the steps that we've learned in doing accounts, like we're taught to do tier accounts, you actually don't do that in the actual world.
No, because you can read it in a book, but you can never actually get it. You don't see what's happening.
I think in a traditional classroom, they'll sit you down and show you, this is how you write it, this is how it's done. You're not getting the experience like talking to foreign companies, going to trade fairs, learning the actual ins and outs rather than just being lectured. You're left to do it.
The world has become very small, and I think for students to have this world orientation and be able to deal with other countries is of the utmost importance.
It's extremely important in this day and age that new employees are able to develop themselves and gain the skills in communication and not be afraid to communicate internationally
The very great advantage is that in the practice firm you are allowed to do mistakes.
I think mistakes are necessary because you learn from mistakes. So,
well, it's better to make a mistake here than it is if it's in the real world. Yeah. It's, here it doesn't really bankrupt anybody, but in the real world you would.
New technology is very important for us because our participants should learn to work with e-business, e-commerce. Transactions get a lot cheaper, a lot faster than they used to be.
And there was a guy in Holland who said 3 years ago that simulation, in its broadest sense, is a silent revolution in education.
It's experience. And the more experience, the more better it is for you, isn't it? So I would advise it, yeah.
For people who want to change jobs, it's a good way to know if they are able to do it or if they like it.
I've never worked in an office before in my life. Always been a lorry driver.
Now I've got a future, which is it's important to me now.
It's given me a new hope. New chance to gain employment.
And when you do really go out in the real world, you know what's going on.
Grab it with both hands. It's brilliant. It really is good.